Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and greetings everyone. Okay, for today, MGT 321 Organizational Behavior, we will learn about Chapter 7, which is Supervision. Okay, for the learning outcomes, the first one is to define the meaning of supervision. So we will know what is a supervisor means. And number 2 is to discuss the role of supervisors in organization. Number 3 is to describe the leadership role of a supervisor based on keystone concept. Number 4 is to define mentor and mentoring. So a part of supervision, we will learn also about mentoring. So, and number 5 is to describe the characteristics of a mentor. Number 6, to explain the mentoring function. And the last one, to discuss the benefits and drawbacks of mentoring in an organization. So, as you can see from the slides, these are all the subtopics under Chapter 7. Okay, so we will learn, as I mentioned just now, introduction, what is supervisor means, the capacity of supervisor, and supervisor's roles. As last one, we will learn about mentoring. Okay, so let me write down. In terms of supervision, so we will learn about the supervisor. So most supervisors are considered as a leader. So under supervision will be the supervisor. They are also a leader. We have learned chapter leadership in the previous chapter. Now we focus on supervision chapter, which is the supervisor is part of a leader as well, who occupy the lowest level in the management hierarchy. So if you're talking about leadership, it is for every leader in management, from the top to the bottom. So the lowest leader is a supervisor. So supervising involves giving directions, leading and development of subordinates to ensure that they perform jobs well, because supervisor is the lowest leader in management. So they will actually giving directions and also lead their subordinates. So of course under them will be the subordinates, such as the clerks, the general worker, are all under supervisor. So this supervisor in charge to develop these subordinates to ensure they are following directions and to do the job well as accordance to what is required by the organization. So the supervisor has to make it clear to individuals with other employees and handling complaints, meaning that if there is a problem in the company, especially involving the lowest level of the organization, such as the subordinates, which are the general worker or the clerical, the supervisor will actually in charge in handling the complaints and solve the problems in this level. So we learn about supervisor, yeah? So there are many roles. So the first, as supervisor, so actually there are many roles. The first one is the communicator. So a supervisor, they has to communicate effectively using two-way communication system. So as you know, in daily basis, they have to deal with the lower level as well as the higher level above them. So they have to communicate effectively. So the most effective communication is using two-way system. The second role is to be the motivator. Okay, because they have the staff under them, so they have to motivate these employees so that the employees, the subordinates will be motivated to work. So they can motivate using multi ways. Of course, we have learned motivation chapter. They can use rewards as well to motivate the staff. Number 3 is to empower. So empower meaning we supervisor, they have some sort of power to make decision, to lead the staff. So they can actually delegate. That's why we call the empowerment, by giving, recognizing and appropriately utilizing their source of power, meaning that whatever power they have, they can actually recognize and appropriately utilize it by use the power to monitor or to ask the employee, the subordinates to do work for them. At the same time, they can also delegate certain power that they have for the staff to do the job. So this is the so-called empowerment because of the power that they have as supervisor. And of course, as a role model, this is a very important role as a supervisor, to live and modeling the company mission. So whatever the company want to achieve, the supervisor is a very important person to show that the role model to be followed by everybody under them, so that everyone will follow according to whatever the company objective is. So for example, in terms of having regulations to come at 8 o'clock, of course the supervisor has to come at 8 in order for them to ensure the staff also follow the same guidelines. And then we have another roles like liaison, coach, as well as mentor. So liaison meaning liaison means somebody who relay the message or the contact person. So liaison here, as a supervisor, you have to deal with your people under you and to also deal with people above you, your manager, your head of department. So you relay the message from your head department to your staff. At the same time, you also relay your message from your staff to your head of department. So as a supervisor, you are a liaison, the role of a liaison. And you are also a coach and a mentor, because you help the employees to find values in their work and help them to meet their employees' legitimate needs. So you know your employee, there are a lot of people under you that need something in their life. So for example, to be promoted, to get more income, to get more rewards. So you coach and mentor them because you have experience already in doing the job. So as a supervisor, you are also a mentor and a coach of your staff to ensure they can also follow whatever guidelines or whatever advice in order to achieve their own objective and goals. So that's why we will learn a mentoring in details in further part of this chapter. So in this supervision also we will learn the capacity of a supervisor. Okay, the capacity here, we have 5 different capacity of a supervisor. The first one is a key person. So in this capacity as a key person, it is actually a traditional view of a management, where the supervisor, he or she will make a decision, control the work and interpret a policy. So everything is a very important, that's why they call it a key person, meaning that supervisor is the middle is the thing that make decision. So we can actually draw this key person according to the diagram. So actually the diagram looks like this. So the supervisor here, he actually make a decision that from top management to the worker and from worker to the top management. So everything is handled by the supervisor. That's why this supervisor of the capacity is a key person. Why is it key? Because he make the decision. There's nothing, meaning that everything must be handled by supervisor. From top management, any message or anything that the top management want to inform the worker, the supervisor will be the one who make decision in terms of whether to relay or not the message, in terms of policy. For example, top management decide a policy, and then the key person, the supervisor, will decide the guidelines, the policy, how to interpret the policy, all determined by this so-called supervisor. So they are also control everything by the worker and give a message to the top management. So that's why it is very traditional, a traditional kind of management, because we rely so much on the supervisor to make the decision for the top management, and there's no direct contact from top management to the worker. So that's why. So it represents workers at a management level and represent management at workers level. So as you can see, the supervisor here, when the top management want to see the worker, the supervisor will be the one who represent the workers, because there's no direct contact. As well as worker, when they want something from top management, they will only liaise with the supervisor, because supervisor will represent the top management as a key person here in the middle. So essential in the communication process from top management to the workers. So as you can see, if top management want to relay any message, of course must come through the supervisor. So supervisor is the most important person in relaying all the message from top to bottom, as well as from bottom to the top. And any discrepancies on the part of the supervisor will result in the breakdown and misunderstanding between top management and the worker. So that's why when we do this key person kind of management thing, which is very traditional, it's not really effective. Why? Because supervisor is very much important. If anything like there is any discrepancy, for example, supervisor wrongly interpret the top management message, so at the end worker will also get the wrong message from the top management. So similarly, if worker wants something from top management, worker must go through supervisor. Some supervisor, they could not actually, they have certain like personal interest, so they do not want to tell the top management. So that's why there will be a breakdown in terms of communication, as well as misunderstanding between the top management and the workers. So as you can see, this is not really effective. So that's why in the second capacity is a man in the middle. Actually, man in the middle is quite similar with the key person, but actually there is a certain differences, as you can see here. Top management and supervisor, and from the workers to the supervisors. So the difference here, actually, as you can see the arrow, yeah. So here the arrow from top management to supervisor, supervisor to workers, and then workers to supervisor, supervisor to top management. But here the supervisor is in the middle. Top management give everything to supervisor, as well as workers also give everything to supervisor. So that's why they call it a man in the middle as a capacity. So as you can read from the slide. Okay, top management, they expect the supervisor to keep the worker well disciplined, control production, unnecessary waste, and carry out whatever plans that have accepted diligently and with maximum efforts, most of which are production or technical oriented. Meaning that the supervisor have to be in charge in terms of keeping all the workers disciplined, in terms of following the guidelines. Everything the supervisor will be responsible. The top management actually relies so much in terms of supervisor to ensure the workers had actually execute the plan that they have actually decided, and to make sure the workers had actually fulfill all the requirements. So at the same time, workers also, they expect the supervisor to be on their side as a person who speak for them to the top management, be a nice guy, interpret top management policies for them. So here, supervisor is stuck in the middle because workers rely on them to represent them to top management, to voice out their needs, to be representative from management. Anything they will ask the supervisor to actually to get something from management. and the interpretation of policies are rely on supervisor. At the same time, top management also rely on supervisor to be the best in terms of arranging the work process, discipline, make sure all the staff discipline. As you can see here, this is so-called like middle man in the middle, who actually taking a responsibility that giving out by both directions. So that's why the arrow here is bothly given to the supervisor. So it means that supervisor stuck in the middle. So now as a key person, supervisor is very much powerful. But as a as a middle man in the middle, the supervisor is very stressful, because they have to take too responsibility that is too much in terms of giving top management what they want and giving workers what they want. Okay, so that's why in the third capacity we have marginal man. So you must be able to show what we call this some sort of diagram. As I draw on the whiteboard here, the diagram is important for you to understand where the supervisor capacity is, because in final exam also they will ask some question, they will ask you about the supervisor capacity using diagram. So you must show this so-called arrow and the top, how the supervisor sits in the relationship as I drawn here. So for the marginal man, actually supervisor, they are not involved directly, yes? They are outside of the relationship between top management and the workers. So as you can see, supervisors sit outside. Yeah? So why is that? Supervisor usually left out the principal activities and influences that affect a department. So meaning that the supervisor is his capacity in this kind of relationship. It's not like a key person that make all the decision, or the middleman who is actually stressed out because everybody rely on him. But this is outside this relationship. He just actually monitor the relationship between top management and the workers, and maybe he could influence the relationship, giving out of some opinion or giving out some suggestion, but they are not really the key person in this kind of scenario. They are like a loner of activities, meaning they are alone, but they can actually give some sort of suggestion or any opinion. So that's why they left out the principal activities here. So they are not actually accepted as part of management. If there is marginal people, they are not actually part of management, because they did not make any decision. They just like overseeing the process, but they are not making any decision in this so-called relationship. So that's why they are not part of management. So they will not be considered as management, because they do not make any decision at all. They just can give opinion. So that's why because of this, they are outside. Workers sometimes they ignore because the supervisor is not part of the management, as well as not part of the worker. So they are not accepted as worker as well, because they are outsiders. So that's why they have nobody to support them except their peers. So supervisor will only get support from other supervisors, because other supervisors are also marginal men. They are also not part of the management process. So meaning here, supervisor will only get support from other supervisors, which is their peers, because they are in the same category as a marginal man. So the top management here has a stockholders, other managers and staff specialists to support them, while workers have the support from their union, shop steward and informal groups. So basically in this relationship, direct relationship from top management to workers, top management they also do not really rely on the supervisor, because the top management can get support from other managers, which is manager above than supervisor. Maybe the specialist like the expert, like the expert in the in the unit or in the department or in the production or in something that they do. So the expert or staff specialist, they will actually support the top management instead of the supervisor. At the same time, the workers also do not accept the supervisor as their group. Workers normally get the support from the union or other informal groups that is not their supervisor. So supervisor is the marginal man, which is outside of the relationship, and they are not really accepted as any of this category. So they will only get the support from their own peers of supervisor as well. Okay, so that is number 4 and number 3. So the number 4 is a behavioral specialist. Okay, so for behavioral specialist, as you can see, top management, supervisor, and then the human side of operation, and the workers. And the staff, technical side of the operation, so in this staff, technical part goes to the top management as well as the workers. So as you can see here, management looks upon supervisor as an expert in the behavioral aspect of the workers. They are directly involved with the human side of operations, while the technical staff handle the technical side of it. So supervisor, the top management will rely on them to be the people who are in charge of the human side of operation, meaning that as you can see from the key, it's like a key person kind of way, but the key person, they are not really, they're in charge of everything. But in this behavioral specialist, the supervisor here in charge of human side of operation, meaning that it's not, and they have another staff outside that in charge on the technical. So normally this technical side is like the engineers, maybe it's like the specialists, the training department, or the manager that is in charge of the technical thing, meaning that the supervisor, they will not make any they will not make all the decision like key person, because in this behavioral specialist, there will be a staff outside that will actually make a decision or make advice to the workers and top management about technical side, meaning that supervisor will only in charge about behavioral side or human side. Supervisor is somebody important for the well-being of the organization, as human skills and feelings make up a large portion of organization. Meaning that although they are only in charge of human side, it is very important because as you all know, in everyday activities, the human part of it, like management in terms of how the staff being handled in terms of let's say going to be trained, communicate about policies, interpretation, advice in terms of guidelines, in terms of making sure everybody are working together in the good spirit. So of course the supervisor is somebody important to ensure the human side of it will be effectively operated. For example, everybody not actually they are communicating very well, they are helping each other in a good teamwork kind of way. So that's why supervisor will be in charge in terms of making sure all the workers and the top management are being linked towards appreciating all the employees' activities in human kind of way. Not about the operation that is technical, like running the machines, making decision about materials, making decision about suppliers or whatever. That would be the stuff outside that is technically expert about that. So the supervisor will only help in terms of in charge in terms of the behavior of the staff, like say like as I mentioned, maybe in terms of communication, in terms of teamwork, in terms of leadership, for example, as well in terms of management, manage about the leave, the work schedule arrangement, in terms of making people happy. All that are in the supervisor category of importance in this behavioral specialist role or capacity. So as you can see, this is different from the key person. So you must be able to explain in terms of the difference and how it look like according to the name of the capacity and the graph or the graphical representation, or we call it diagram, on how the supervisor sits in terms of the relationship between top management to the workers. Okay, so the fifth one is the another workers. So another workers is the capacity that is what we call it does not related. Yeah, so as you can see from the diagram, top management here, and then we have workers here and the supervisors here. So here, as you can see from the slide as well as the whiteboard here, supervisor is nothing but just an ordinary workers. So the supervisor does not have any role or any power to monitor the workers, because they are just an ordinary workers that is same like a worker as well. So there's no any different or any specialty of the supervisor. Supervisor will be same person like all the workers. So that's why supervisor lack of authority. They do not have any authority. Maybe the authority given to the manager or the head of department instead of supervisor. Supervisor is just an ordinary worker, like the clerk. Clerk and the supervisor is the same, has the same power. There's no authority supervisor towards the clerk. Maybe the authority given to the manager or the officer or executive above than supervisor. So they lack of a status because they are not given any authority. Of course, they do not have the status, special status as well. So maybe it's just a title given to the supervisor as a supervisor, maybe to appreciate their loyalty or their working experience, years of employment. For example, like when a clerk is working for 10 years, for example, then he or she will be given a title of a supervisor without any special status or special authority. So they're just an ordinary worker, or in this capacity as another workers. So that is the number 5. Okay, so as you can see here, these are all the 5 components or 5 type of capacity of a supervisor. Okay. So and this supervisor's role, basically we have a keystone concept. basically it's not. It is actually a concept of a role of a supervisor. So when we talk about keystone, there will be some sort of a diagram. It looks like in the slides, from top management to the operating employees. So there will be some sort of, as you can see from this works like this, yeah. They are like in the middle part of it. Okay, the keystone concept here. Why is it they are the keystone in this some sort of arch? Some sort of arch. It's like arch, right? So the supervisor is in the middle, that connecting top management to the employees. So as from here, the role of supervisor as a management people, man in the middle, as well as behavioral specialists. So we have learned about 5 capacity just now. So in the keystone concept, the behavioral specialist is also accepted because they are the people who manage the behavior of the operating employees. At the same time, they are also in the middle between the operating employees and the top management. And they are also the management people because it's connected from top management to the operating employees. So the 3 ideas when put together will lead to understanding that supervisors are the element structure of an organization, represent keystone concept in organization structure. So meaning that in organization structure, it's like a structure, like an arch structure. So if you do not have a key supervisor as a keystone here, what will happen? The structure will collapse, because the keystone here is the most important thing to connect from the top management to the operating employees. So they are in the middle and they are part of the management people. They are not people like marginal man or another worker. So we don't accept these 2 capacities. Yeah, in keystone concept, we don't accept supervisor as a marginal people that is outside of the relationship, as well as another worker that do not have any authority. We don't accept that. We follow the behavioral specialist and man in the middle, as well as the management people, because we think, not because we think, we believe that the supervisor is the keystone that connecting this arch from top management to the lower level. Because if there is no connectivity or the middle here, the structure will not stand. So the supervisor is the keystone to an arch, which makes both sides of the foundation stronger due to the pressure exerted. So meaning that basically, if you are a supervisor, you are in charge of both arch. You are the connector between those 2. So if you are not there, it will collapse. And if you are a stronger supervisor, a stronger keystone, will also make it stronger for both the arch here, the parts of the arch, because you are the one who make it stronger, or make sure the foundation from both sides are established in the strong position. So that's why this concept of keystone actually highlights the role of supervisor that is very much needed in an organization. Okay. So that is if you check from the textbook. Okay, textbook will explain in detail as I explained on the whiteboard. Okay. So as I mentioned just now, without supervisor, there is no one to motivate and supervise the workers. So that's why as a keystone, batu yang utama ya dalam sesuatu arca. So because in one arch, the most important stone is on the top, because they are the one, that stone is the key, because it will connect the arch. If the keystone is some sort of lack or crack, so it will crack all the arch. So that's why it must be strong on the middle part. So being a key person, supervisor are important in transmitting information. So the arch is like a flow. If there is a keystone here, it will actually flow, make it flow in terms of this information, in terms of whatever message that the top management would give to the workers, and the workers also would give to the top management. So as man in the middle viewpoints depicts that supervisors are those who face pressure from both sides to ensure smooth operation. Although they are in the middle part, they will gain, they will have some sort of pressure from both sides. Okay, and they are also being a behavioral specialist who will actually monitor in the human side of the people, the workers' feelings, the workers' behavior in terms of their satisfaction, communication, leadership, teamwork. All these are the role of a supervisor in managing the employees and them. Okay, so this keystone actually as well, when will lead to understanding that supervisor are important element. Okay, they are the liaison of both side of top management and operating employees. So I think that's all about the supervision, yeah, in terms of the roles, in terms of the concept of a keystone and the capacity of the supervisor, which is about 5 capacity, and the 3 of the capacity has actually been included in the keystone concept. Okay, so for the keystone concept, as I mentioned just now, the keystone concept for a supervisor, as you can see from this arch, this is an arch, so they are the middle person. So that's why in the keystone concept we accept the capacity of a supervisor as a middle man, as well as the management people, because they are connected from the top management. So they are part of the management, and they are operating, they are overseeing the operating employees. So they are the behavioral specialists. So there are 3 capacity of as a supervisor in the keystone concept. So we now move to the part of a supervisor as a mentor. Okay. So what is mentoring? Yeah. So in this mentoring concept, we will learn about the definition of a mentor, and then the problems, the characteristic of a good mentor, the functions of a mentor, and the benefits of a mentor. Okay, so first is the mentor definition. So mentor is a one-on-one coaching that involves leading, developing, and molding of a talented younger people. This is a definition from O'Dion 1985, and Cram 1983 defined mentoring as a process that encompasses a broad range of developmental functions contributing to the career enhancement and career development of the mentor and protege. So based on these 2 definitions, this textbook actually define mentoring as a process that focuses on providing guidance, direction, and career advice. So as a supervisor is part of a mentor, so we focus on the mentor process now. So the mentor here refers to the process in giving guidance or advice, as well as directions, and include the career advancement or enhancement advice as well. So we provide direction as normal supervisor do. We provide some sort of guidance or advice that is more personal than direction, which is like a mentor. They will be more in terms of some sort of that is informal. So they will have some sort of mentor, like a supervisor could be the mentor to the subordinate. So they will have a personal kind of relationship in terms of informal to give guidance, not only direction. So they will also give career advice, because mentor will develop the protege towards the successfulness of the protege, and indirectly giving the successfulness to the organization. So this is an effective way of helping people to progress in their careers. So it means that the mentor will provide more guidance and advice towards developing the protege to enhance their career, as well as towards development to the whole mentor as well. Because mentor, when they give advice to the employee, to the subordinates, to the protege, they will also advance themselves in terms of communication, in terms of giving them some sort of skill, and also it can enhance their career, because when the protege develop themselves, the mentor will also develop towards betterment in terms of career. So below are some reasons why organizations choose to establish mentoring program. So not many organizations would establish this mentoring program, but if the company establish this mentoring program, it will give many benefits. So for example, like skills enhancement. So by having some sort of this program, they will actually give some sort of many benefits. So they are the objective of this mentoring program. First is skill enhancement, as I mentioned just now. Mentoring will enable the experienced, highly competent staff to pass their expertise on to others who needs to acquire specific skills. So basically, the mentor, when they have the protege, they will actually provide some sort of guidance, and they will relay their experience. They will show some sort of examples. They will tell in terms of the do's and don'ts and the tips, as well as the some sort of any wisdom that they can actually provide to the protege. So they will pass on the experience to the younger people. So this will actually enhance the skills of both parties at the same time. So the second objective, or the second reason, is to have the professional identity. So when younger employees are in the early stages of their career, they need help in understanding what it means to be a professional in their working environment. So that's why the younger people, they need a mentor, because mentor plays a key role in defining professional behavior for the new employees. So this is most important when employees first enter the organization. So the new employees will not know many things in the working environment, in terms of how to be professional, in terms of how to develop themselves. So this mentor will have the ability to teach or to guide these younger employees to develop professionally in terms of their working environment. So that's why this is so important in providing some sort of professional identity. The third one is, as I mentioned, is for career development. So mentoring will help the employees to plan, develop and manage their careers. It also helps them to become more flexible in times of change, more self-reliant in their careers, and more responsible as a self-directed learners. So by having a mentor and mentee or mentor-protege relationship, to enhance the skill, to be more professional, the career can also be developed in terms of having some sort of guidelines of planning and ways to achieve it. So only mentor can give that direction, because mentor had been established the same kind of career. So that's why the mentor could actually teach and guide the employee, the mentee, to know how to plan their careers, what are the actions that need to be done to establish movement in the career, let's say by 5 years, by 10 years, in terms of planning and how to achieve it. So the mentor could guide in terms of developing this career to the mentee or protege. Okay, the fourth objective is for leadership and management development. So mentoring encourages the development of leadership competencies. These competencies are often more easily gained through example, guided practices, or experience than by education and training. So that's why leadership and management development, as I mentioned, is very much important, and it can be established or achieved using the mentoring, because as a mentor they will actually provide guidance and direction, so they will develop themselves as a good leader and as a good manager as well. So this is by having at the same time, the mentee or the protege will also learn about the leadership skill and management skill from the mentor, and this is established using experience, because when they are having this mentor protege relationship, they will actually from time to time try to, let's say for example, mentor try to get the mentee to do some project on behalf of the mentor. So this will develop the leadership or the management skill that can be practiced, because by following the mentor example or mentor, the mentee would practice from time to time. So it is better this way instead of using training. If we do training and education, it's more like on theory kind of way, which is not a practice like a mentoring, because when you are in mentoring program, you are able to practice with the guidance or monitoring from the mentor. So mentor will provide you some sort of arena or chance for you to practice in front of them and it takes longer time, as not in the training you will only sit for certain days of training, and it will not easily help you in developing experience in leading. So the leadership and management style could be achieved easily using the mentoring program. Okay, the next objective is for education support. So this number 5, education support, is by mentoring will help to bridge the gap between the theory and practice. So formal education and training is complemented by the knowledge and hands-on experience of competent experts. As similar to what I mentioned just now about the training can only used to train you theoretically, meaning what you learn is based on theory that is given in the training. So that's why in the mentoring would be an educational support, because whatever that you learn in education, not only in training, in your education itself, where if you go for study and so on, you will learn some sort of theory, and the mentoring process will support you in terms of how to practice it, in terms of real world example, in terms of how your mentor practice what they have learned before. So that's why you are, as a mentee or protege, you when you happen to have a training or education, you will know the practice of it from your mentor. Your mentor will give you a chance, will guide you and monitor you when you are practicing or applying whatever that you have learned from the training or education, because they are the expert that can give you the opinion and monitor using hands-on kind of manner, because they know what you have applied is in front of them, so they will see whether it's good or not based on what you have learned. Okay, so number 6 objective is for organizational development and culture change. So as you can see from there, mentoring can help communicate the values, vision and mission of the organization. A one-to-one relationship can help employees understand the organizational culture. So in terms of organizational development and culture change, if you want to develop overall organization, you want to change your culture, you cannot do like everybody would follow whatever the company asks. Basically, everybody will only follow if there is a one-to-one kind of instruction or guidance or direction that is more informal and there is a close monitoring by the mentor. So the mentoring is more effective in ensuring organizational development and culture change can happen because they can monitor the mentee and protege, and then they can deliver closely in terms of what organization want to develop the organization, as well as to change the culture even in terms of how they can do that based on one-to-one relationship. So that's why mentoring is very important in doing all these changes as well as development, because if everybody are following their mentor, so it easily could achieve the overall organizational development as well as culture change. And number 7 is for staff retention. So mentoring provides an encouraging environment through ongoing interactions, coaching, teaching and role modeling that facilitate progressions within the organization. So mentoring is a way to show employees that they are valued, that the organization, the company's future includes them. So by having a mentoring program, it is a staff retention program, because when the staff know they are a mentee of somebody, so the staff will be given direction, will be given monitoring, will be given some sort of coaching, teaching and role modeling. So they will understand easily how to do the work, they can progress easily in terms of developing the career, they will get guidance and some sort of help in doing their activities, daily activities in organization. Of course they will feel satisfied, they will like the company more because they know company value them by giving some sort of help by using mentor and mentee program. So they will stay and loyal to the organization because the organization are concerned about the employees. So that's why mentoring program could be a staff retention program. And the last one is of course the knowledge transfer, because mentoring provides for the interchange and exchange of information, knowledge between members of different organizations. So for example, like mentoring for you, when you are from different organization, you come to the new organization, of course you do not really know what happened in the organization. So by having a mentor, they will actually tell you more details about the organization, they will closely engage with you about how to do things in the organization. So the transferring process in terms of the knowledge between the mentor and mentee, as well as between the mentee to the mentor, it will happen simultaneously. It can easily develop the process of transfer. So it will actually provide some sort of ways or opportunities for people to change and share the knowledge. So when the knowledge being shared, it will actually make the company grow in terms of making everybody knowledgeable. So that's why this reason for establishing a mentoring program must be linked to the organization business goal as well. So that's why by having all these, a mentor will actually guide, help the mentee to find the personal direction and develop them to in terms of career. So mentors rely upon having had a similar experiences to empathize with the mentee and understand their issues. So when mentor and engage with the mentee, mentor would actually relay all their experience, their wisdom, and they empathize with the mentee, because when we are in the one-to-one relationship from the mentor and mentee, mentor would understand more because they know that it's their responsibility to guide this mentee, and they are in some sort of human to human relation, not based on manager to staff, because if manager and staff is more on the formal and must be very some sort of work-based relationship, but on the mentor and mentee program, they are more on the guidance kind of relationship, so it's more informal. So the mentor would actually empathize to the mentee, because mentor had also similar problems when they had newly joined the company, for example. So that's why mentor should help the mentee to believe in himself or herself and boost his or her confidence. Okay, mentor should ask question and challenge while providing guidance and encouragement. Okay, so that's why as you can see from the slide, mentor is a senior employee who sponsors and support a less experienced employee called protege. So basically the company would give mentor position or mentor role to the senior employees. Of course, senior employees could be the supervisor or could be somebody else that are also senior. So that's why as a supervisor, you could be a mentor as well in the mentoring program. So you will provide guide who that can help the mentee to find the right personal direction, as I mentioned just now. You will get them to find their direction in terms of how to move in terms of career, develop this problem in terms of any issues. So mentor will present idea clearly, listen well and empathize with the problem of the protege. So that's why this is more in one-to-one relationship. So the mentor can listen in terms of the problem, in terms of giving ideas, more clear in terms of how to guide in planning. So they are very important in terms of providing the employees or the mentee with some sort of confident in doing job, as well as in moving towards higher level in the organization. So of course, mentoring allows the mentee to explore the new ideas in confidence. It is a chance to look more closely at oneself or one's issues, opportunities and a person wants in life. So when you are in this kind of relationship with your mentor, they can actually see more into a closer view of you as you are, for example, as a person. So mentoring is about becoming more self-aware, taking responsibility for life and directing a life in the direction as decided rather than leaving it to chance. So by having this so-called mentoring program, you will be having some sort of guidance. So it will be not only guidance, they will actually challenge you, they will ask you to do things, they will ask questions, so you will feel more, you will feel that somebody monitor you, so you will be more on self-aware and you will take responsibility, okay, rather than you leave it like that, there's no activities in terms of moving your careers. So here not in this slide, but mentoring in your textbook, page 141, there will be some sort of mentoring functions. Okay, this is in your slide. Okay, mentoring functions. There are two types of mentoring functions. Basically, a mentor would serve as a career functions as well as psychosocial functions. So if you like to, we are focusing on function just now. So the first function is to be the career, in terms of career. Another one in terms of psychosocial. Okay, so is to enhance the mentee's career advancement. So through this function, the mentee is taught to develop job competence and readiness for future advancement opportunities. So this approach used by the mentor are like sponsorship. So they will actually guide the employee or the mentee in getting or the protege in getting the sponsorship to move towards a higher level, to give challenging assignment. When we give the challenging assignment, it will actually develop the career experience. They will also give some sort of exposure and visibility. So maybe the mentor will invite the mentee or the protege to do job together, like say by giving exposure to any special project the mentor had handled, and giving visibility in terms of to recognize the mentee as the person who are responsible to do something. Of course, they will do the coaching and protection, coach them in doing the job, as well as protect them for any mistakes, because they are the people that being guided by the mentor. So this aspect is more on the enhancement of career. But the other functions, which is psychosocial function, this psychosocial function is to enhance the mentee's sense of competence, clarity of identity, and the effectiveness of managerial role. So mentees are given support and sense of professional identity, as I mentioned just now. The mentor can also help in the career planning and guiding the mentee in choosing the correct career path. The mentor will use this approach. So the function of psychosocial is more on the some sort of not really formal, it's more informal, because a one-to-one kind of way. So the aspect is to enhance the competence by giving clarity of identity and effectiveness in the managerial role. So basically they will show the role model in terms of how to do things. They will show as a role model the mentor, and they will get the acceptance and confirmation from the mentee, meaning that it's not on the force kind of way. They will not force the person to follow them. It is like if you accept what the suggestion is, so you will conform to the agreed terms that they have done. So they more on the counseling, like a counselor, and more on like a friendship. So these psychosocial functions more to be like informal as compared to the career functions, that is to develop the career only, but this one is more towards develop the person as a whole, as a manager, in terms of having skill and having competence. So that's why the psychosocial functions is more on the role model, counseling and friendship kind of way. So what are the good mentor characteristics? So you can read from the slide. There are many characteristics of a good mentor. Of course, the mentor must be a superior performer. You must be able to perform in order for you to ask people to follow you, right? So that's why a superior performer would be a good mentor. And the second one is supportive of subordinates in the performance of their own job. So the the mentor must be a supportive kind of person. They must be able to support people. They like to encourage people in excelling in whatever that they do, to perform in their job. Okay, so they are also a mentor. Also, a good mentor should be a good delegators, because a mentor normally a person that is higher rank. Of course, like senior people, they have more power as compared to the lower level. So in order for you to ensure you develop people, good mentor need to delegate some power, delegate some job, so that the mentee or the protege will able to do the job for you, so they will learn from whatever that they have done, from the whatever that you have delegate. So that's why the mentor must be a good delegator. And then a good mentor should be a good feedback provider. So you must be able to provide feedback, because you need to guide people and to develop people as your mentee. So so that when they the mentee or the protege become self-organized learner, because you are giving feedback from time to time, so they can learn by themselves, because you give feedback, ongoing feedback to your mentee will actually learn very much, and they can be a self-organized learner. Of course, a good mentor must be a good listener as well. In order for you to maintain a good informal one-to-one relationship, so you have to understand your mentee. So you need to be a good listener to understand what are their wants, their needs, their problems, their likings, or their issues. So that's why you have to be a good listener and to be a good mentor. And a good mentor has to be accessible and available, right? So for example, just now as I mentioned, as a good listener, you have to be attentive, perceptive, unbiased and diplomatic. So you cannot be biased, and you have to be diplomatic. You cannot force people. You have to ensure they accept whatever your suggestion, for example. Accessible and available, of course you have to be willing to get to know the mentee and keep in touch, understanding that the frequency depends on the mentee's needs. So sometimes we cannot force people to be to meet us. Sometimes they are not available. So a mentor also must be available to the mentee, for the mentee to approach and to get some sort of advice. They have to be accessible. Both they need to understand people when they are working. We have some sort of sometimes busy and so on. So that's why you need to understand both people require some sort of frequency to meet and to discuss and so on. So according to timeline that both are agreed, meaning comfortable, both convenience. So they have to be sensitive to diversity. Yeah, as a mentor, you must aware of differences such as physical disability, gender, culture, or life circumstances that may require special accommodations. So you must be sensitive to diversity, because not everyone is the same. Some people, because of gender, because of culture or life circumstances, they would have some sort of special needs or special requirement. So you have to be sensitive in providing this some sort of special treatment. Okay, of course, you have to be a character builder. As a mentor, you must provide the mentee with an honest assessment of his or her strengths and weaknesses, and helping the mentee acquire the confidence and tools to function in competitive world. So mentor, you must build your mentee. Characteristically, you have to understand what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses, so you can boost the strengths to be maximum and to eliminate or to overcome the weaknesses, so that you can help them to acquire the confidence and tools in functioning towards in this competitive environment. Okay, and a good mentor should be a team player, of course, because you are working in team with your mentee. Mentee is your team member, so you have to be receptive to the mentee's need for other mentors, for example. So some sort of a team player, because maybe you could actually ask your employee or your mentee to go and find another mentor, and you have to accept them in terms of their weaknesses. Maybe they have their own opinion, so there must be some sort of tolerance and collaboration or cooperation. Of course, as I mentioned just now, mentor have to be a superior performer. They have to be knowledgeable as well. So you must have up-to-date or technological knowledge and the skill as well. You must be able to know better in terms of the skills, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the up-to-date information. If you do not know anything, if you do not keep yourself updated, how you want to guide your mentee or your protege in this current environment. So at the same time, you must demonstrate effective managerial and mentoring skills. So you have to effectively coach, counsel the mentee, facilitate and have a networking skill. So because in order for you to be a good mentor, you must be able to be a good to have a good skills in a managerial aspect, because you have to coach people, you have to communicate, you have to counsel people. So this networking and facilitating or facilitator kind of way, you requires some sort of a skill that you have to demonstrate to your mentee, so that mentee can able to follow, can able to be guided in terms of the direction. And of course, you have to have the willingness or able to devote time to developing others. So as a mentor, you should have the time and mental energy to devote to the relationship between you and your mentee, because you are required to develop your protege. So you have to have you should have the willingness or the some sort of motivation to devote to your development tasks, because you have to develop them in order for them to be a good mentee to replace you, for example. So you have to have some sort of open heart and be able to devote your time, make sure you are agree in terms of the timeline and so on. So of course you have to be able to eager to learn, because as a mentor, it's not that you are already good, you should able to learn new things as well in order for you to teach other people. So you have to see the potential benefits of this relationship, and you are able to learn from the relationship, because when we have different mentee, different things that we can learn. So if you do not want to learn, of course you do not able to communicate or to have some sort of a good relationship with your mentee. Okay, so I think I covered a lot of good mentoring kind of characteristic. Basically, it's like more on the general what makes a good mentor is similar to what makes a good parents, for example. So you could actually come up with your own some sort of similar skill or good manager skill. So it could be similar to good mentoring skill, only that the mentor is more on the personal kind of way. It's not like a manager that is very formal. So mentor is more like one-to-one, how to coach people, develop other people. So if you want to know, if you can actually have some sort of opinion on how a good character of good mentor is. Okay, so what are the benefits? So the benefits is also important in this chapter. In terms of the benefits of mentoring, basically I already covered a little bit on that, but in the slides there will be different slides for benefits for employee and benefits for the mentor, as well as benefits for the organization. Of course, by mentoring, as a result, what is the benefits for the mentor? Mentor could have the personal fulfillment, because the mentee would have the career advancement. Mentee will actually move to higher level. The mentor, of course, they are already higher in the organization. They will feel a personal fulfillment, because they will feel that they have developed somebody. So they feel satisfied because their skills are not waste, because the skill has been inherited by other people under them. So the organization will also have a benefits, because when they develop this mentoring process, they will develop the managers, because the development of managers would be continuous from the mentor to the mentee, and both can be able to be the good managers in the organization, and the training would actually be safe. Yeah, you could not You can save in terms of training because the mentor would actually train the mentee in some sort of informal and more on continuous basis, as compared to the training of manager that is so formal, and sometimes it's not really effective because there is no practice and monitoring. Okay, so for the mentee, they will gain personal support from the mentor, and the mentor will have the assistance on project, because when as mentor, they will actually do some project, and when they have mentee, they can ask the mentee to support them, so they can have the assistance. So at the same time, when they got the assistance from the mentee can have the experience doing the project together with the mentor. So at the same time, they gain the support from the mentor. So that's why for the whole organization, you will gain increased commitment to the organization. Everybody will work committed because they will actually have some sort of relationship with somebody who monitor them, somebody who develop their career. So the commitment is high among both everybody in the organization. So the mentee, as I mentioned just now, can have the benefits of learning and development. At the same time, mentor could gain financial rewards. For example, a company should provide some sort of incentive to the mentor, like allowance or rewards or benefits, some sort of financial or non-financial, that would be to help them to be excited in helping this mentee. So at the same time, the organization could gain the benefits of organization cost effectiveness, because when you provide this mentoring program, it is more on cost effective, because as I mentioned, it can save the cost of training can be saved, cost of recruitment, because the staff will stay loyal to the organization because they get the mentor-mentee kind of help. So they will stay together in the organization. So there will be cost effectiveness for the organization from losing good people, from losing the employees. So they will not have to replace the employees. Okay, so there are less losses as employees make fewer mistakes, because at the same time, when the mentee has been able to learn from the mentor, they can minimize an error. Of course, it will save the cost to the organization. And of course, the mentee will gain confidence, increase the confidence. The mentor will also increase the confidence. Both can increase confidence because they are dealing in so-called relationship to enhance each other's job, to guide each other to be more in terms of human kind of skills, so they can be confident to each other. So organization can increase the communication in terms of ways to communicate, because the mentor will communicate directly with the mentee, and mentee will communicate directly with the mentor. So the whole communication in organization will be smooth in terms of ways in giving messages or giving guidelines or giving some sort of rules or regulations and so on. So at the same time, mentee will gain assistance and feedback from the mentor, and mentor will revitalize interest in work, because when mentor, they obtain a greater understanding about what happened to the lower level. They will feel they will gain leadership style. They will gain more experience in leading people. They can demonstrate their knowledge and expertise. So they will gain confidence and satisfaction. So they will expand the reputation and connection. So this will make them more excited and interested to do job, because what they do is to develop people, and when people are developed, it will give some sort of reputation, satisfaction. They will feel like they are important to other people. They feel that they are a good role model, a good leader, and so on. So that's why not only the mentee part of it can only gain the benefits, the mentor so much can also gain benefits in this some sort of mentoring program, and of course the organization would gain much more benefits in overall setting of the organization, because people are working in team, people are working together to reduce costs, to develop commitment, satisfaction, communication skills and everything. However, this is the last the problem. Everything got pros and cons. Although there will be a positive of the mentoring, we should also learn that there are some sort of drawbacks. For example, the mentee, the neglect of the core jobs. For example, they are so much concentrated on the mentor kind of instruction or mentor guidance, so they will neglect of the core job. For example, let's say the mentor shouldn't be their manager. Sometimes mentor could be any other senior that is not their manager. So when they got the instruction from the manager, they will not follow the manager instruction because they follow the mentor's instruction. So as I mentioned, that's why that could be the problems in this mentoring program. For the mentor, of course, the problem of having lack of time, because the mentor have their own job in their daily basis in organization. So in terms of mentoring their mentee, they could have no time. So that's why some sort of opportunity from the organization to provide to the mentor in giving time, in having time to do this mentoring program. Of course, the organization could have the problem of lack of organizational support. For example, let's say the CEO or the financial managers do not actually give some sort of support in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of expenses, because in developing this program we should have some sort of training, we should have some sort of guidance, and also the monetary incentive. For example, the manager, right, the supervisor, or sorry, the mentor need some sort of incentive why they in order for them to develop the employee or the mentee. And of course the negative experience, experience that is happening because of the relationship. Let's say the mentor give some sort of something that is not liked by not in the favor of the mentee. Sometimes mentee have a negative experience. Let's say they having micromanaged by the mentor, so they feel like everything mentor want them to do things that is not part of their job, or they are not really having good relationship, being scolded by the manager, for example, being scolded by the mentor would actually hate them because mentor would not really help them so much. They have to do everything because of the forced relationship. Sometimes when the mentor and mentee is forcibly being connected by this program without their willingness, so that's why this negative experience will happen. So if there is negative experience by the mentee, it will not happen, it will not develop them, it will actually make them feel dissatisfied. They can even leave the company because of having these negative experiences. So that's why you shouldn't be forcing this relationship, and the mentor must be able to provide some sort of guidance that is truthful and honest, and the willingness of the mentor must be very high. The motivation of the mentor and mentee to create this relationship must be in very open and honest, as well as the willingness to do this is very important. So the mentor would actually have a drawback in terms of lack of perceived benefit, sometimes because there is no benefit to them in terms of monetary. But of course the mentor should be given some sort of motivation and some sort of encouragement why they have to do this, because sometimes they cannot see the benefits of it. So by giving, for example, by giving encouragement for the mentor, like when you develop somebody, you will able to help them, and you will able to help yourself in terms of what, for example, into moving towards higher level, because you have developed under people under you, maybe in terms of having develop the skills like mentoring, leadership, guidance and consultation, and all the things that can be developed using this program. So by having to see the benefits, then the mentor could actually participate. So that's why if there is no perceived benefits, mentor will not really participate, and it will cause problem in this mentoring program. So that's why in overall organization, there will be a drawback in terms of, if you create this mentoring, some sort of climate of dependency will happen, meaning that anything that the mentee needs to do, rely on the mentor. Everything they want to do, they will rely on the mentor. So that's why it will create a dependency problem. So because they are over dependent to the mentor, so they cannot be some sort of people that is self-managed and so on. So that's why in creating this mentoring, organization should not actually allow this dependency to be happen so much, because they have to create some sort of the mentor that give guidance but not really provide directions. So the mentee could actually be on their own or stand on their feet, for example. So another drawback is like unrealistic experiences. For example, the mentee would actually think that the mentor will provide everything to them. So this is unrealistic. The mentor also lack of skills needed for the mentoring role. As a mentor, the mentor should be able to have the skills. So that's why you should do a training in terms of how the mentor can mentor the mentee. So you have to be able to learn to ensure that they have the appropriate skills. For example, like communication, like guidance, if like giving some sort of listening skill, counseling skill. I'm talking about maybe because in dealing with mentee, you should able to understand their problems, their limitations, so understanding and so on. So there are muchly skills that required by the mentor that need to be learned. Sometimes the mentor do not have the skill everything. So that's why the organization in providing this program should be able to identify which is the mentor and what the mentor should have in terms of skill. So provide them the skills in terms of training and so on, so before they can train or mentor the other mentee. So of course the problem in organization in terms of having limited cost and resources. So because as I mentioned just now, you have to have a time to do all this mentoring program. So it will incur costs in production cost, for example, because you have to send them for training, send them for counseling and meeting sessions. Resources, for example, in terms of the mentor themselves. Yeah, sometimes we do not have the mentor that is okay in the organization, so you have to provide training. You have to ensure the mentor would have to go through some sort of program. So you have to provide resources like help in terms of guidance, in terms of the guidelines and so on, and many more. So of course the mentee would have role conflict sometimes, because as I mentioned just now, a mentee could have a conflict between boss and mentor, because their mentor is not their boss. Mentor is their senior. So sometimes the boss will have different understanding or different ways of doing things as compared to the mentor. So there would be a conflict. So at the same time, mentor could have a pressure to take on mentoring role, because it's a forced kind of relationship. So that's why the mentor would not really do the job very well in terms of the mentoring. Maybe they will feel that the pressure of having to develop people. So of course they will not be willingly to develop them as what the mentor should be doing. Okay, because they have to provide some sort of time and energy. They have to commit themselves to the mentee. Okay, sometimes they have also negative impressions to the mentee that who do not succeed they already provide everything to the mentee, but suddenly mentee are not as what they expected. So they will feel frustration because of the slow process or the failure by the mentee. So all this will make a pressure to the mentor, so it will not be successful. So that's why these are all the drawbacks of the mentoring program that should be taken into consideration by all the organization in implementing a mentoring program. So as this is the conclusion. As you can see, the problems are the potential mismatch between the mentor and the mentee, the time and effort that involved in doing the program, as well as the unchosen mentor kind of or mentee kind of way. Because when there is a problem of mismatch, there will be a forced kind of way. So how to ensure that the matching between the mentor and mentee is the best in terms of the connection, in terms of the willingness, in terms of the cooperation and the satisfaction that the mentor and mentee should have, so that they can develop themselves into betterment as what organization aspired to have. I think that's all. Thank you so much.